See the countdown?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So we're back from our retreat. This episode is going to be a little bit of a recap episode. So we're back from our retreat. We're already planning the next one. Should give you guys a good idea of how well the retreat went in itself. So, and if you are listening, the next one's going to be in Santa Rosa Beach, my hometown. Dates to be TBD. We'll know that in about the next 24 hours. But dude, was that not the best? That not the best time ever?
It couldn't have gone any better. And like I said, we weren't planning one for another 6 months. And we were going to do a 6-month gap. Let's go half a year before we do another one. And then it was like, we have to do another one, if not really 2, just because what the guys who attended said, what the demand has been since. We've just been posting things, not even telling people we're going to do another one. And it's really the guys who are there, them telling their social media following that they have to come.
Yeah, it was, again, like I say, better than I thought. But yeah, the same for you and I both. The feedback, I mean, I'm getting pinged by everyone. Like, hey, when's the next one? Can my husband go on that? Hey, I want to send my 2 sons to that. And, we were thinking like February, but that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So here we are planning another one on the fly, but it was so fluid and seamless. I'll tell you this, the guys ate better food than they've eaten in a long time, right? We had no junk food on site. Like there was no way, and there was no way for anybody to go anywhere. You and I had the only cars, right? So like there was really nowhere to go. Every single thing was confronted head on. We had, let's give a little breakdown, right? So it was a Monday through Thursday, which is going to be the same exact thing as this retreat. We all got in there on Monday, and what did we get to the house around? Like you got there a little early. I got there around probably 6, and it was instant, like game on with guys being dudes. Like everybody's sitting around tables outside, soaking up the mountains, talking, getting to know one another. We cooked steaks that night, ate around the table, and then basically just like primed the guys for the next 2 days of what it was that we were going to do. And I loved, Jesse, that we didn't give them an itinerary, and the guys won't get an itinerary this time. Like there's no time for you to think about like what's going to happen, game plan in your head. For those of you guys that are planners, like there's just not going to be any opportunity for that. But what we had in mind went perfectly.
Yeah. And without an itinerary, it works out really well. So like we were a half hour late for a private lifting session at a gym because we were just so ingrained in the Bible, right? So no one could have been like, hey guys, are we doing the next thing on the itinerary? It's like, no, because we're deep in the Bible, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. So for those of you that weren't there, we were sitting on a dock in the Tahoe Keys with mountains behind us, mountains in front of us, absolutely beautiful weather. And we were just talking about identity in Christ. Like the number one thing you've got to nail before you get into the weeds on anything else, identity in Christ. And I think we grabbed coffee, sat out there from 8 to 10, almost 11 o'clock. Yeah. We had a lifting session at 10:30 and we sat there for almost 8 to 11 o'clock. So 3 hours on identity. And we could have gone another 3 hours, but we had a workout to get to. And so that was awesome. We broke after that, drove up to the gym, and got a crazy workout in. That workout too, I'm not a big CrossFitter. I've done CrossFit before, haven't in a long time, but that workout was like exactly what I needed. And doing it with everybody was super cool, right? It was like our whole little team. We were the class.
Which was, so it was so nice cool that he just let it be just our guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was an opportunity to encourage each other. Like we were pushing each other, encouraging each other. And there's something to be said, like you and I are workout guys anyways, right? And when you are in a groove working out with another dude and you guys aren't saying much, but you're like really into it, there's no better time, right? Like fishing's cool. I know hunting is awesome. But for me, peak like guys being dudes is working out together, getting like a really serious lift where everyone's focused and trying to do their best and wanting to crush it. Like that to me is so awesome.
Yeah. And some of these guys were really out of their comfort zone. Right. Yeah. One of the gentlemen's like, man, I have a in-person personal trainer where I live. He has me do a workout. I'm like, do this one. And he's like, I wish I didn't do it because it was so much harder, but I enjoyed it. Right. Yep. And he was a 62-year-old who came. We had a gang unit guy who was like, dude, that kicked my absolute butt. But the fact that we were all there and the camaraderie, right, and pushing each other, that was the cool part.
The camaraderie. Yep. And guy, like one of the things I think that we did the entire week was stuff that you just normally don't do back home. You don't have the kind of conversations we had. You don't eat the kind of food that we ate. You don't get the kind of sleep that we got. You don't have the camaraderie that we had. The conversations that were taking place all the time. Like one of my favorite things that we did, and this was on your lead, was we took a walk after every meal. And that walk, there's science behind that. You can share a little bit about the science behind why we do that, but the emotional part of it, right? Like eating and then just walking and chatting and getting time with all the individual guys, and the guys getting time with themselves, like having a guy to talk to that they didn't know before this trip, come to find out their stories are very similar, right? So it dispelled the myth that like, well, my story is super unique. Like, no, it's not, bro. Your story is the same as most every other guy out there, right? And we had guys that we have guys, the mishmash of guys, right? We've got guys that were passive in their marriages. We've got guys that were unfaithful in their marriages. We got guys that were good in business, bad in business. We've got guys that were young. We had guys that were old. We had guys that were new Christians. We had guys that were old Christians. We had everything, man. And the way that the conversations went when we were together in the living room of that house, that's something I'll remember forever.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that really stick out. One, I doubt any of them have spent that much time in the Bible like we just did, right?
No.
All of the last day, what was it, Wednesday, we were in the Bible, we ate, went on a walk, went into the Bible, ate, went on a walk, into the Bible, into the night. We ate pretty late Wednesday night dinner, walked, then everybody went to bed. And nobody complained of like, can we do something else, because of how deep it was and how intentional. We weren't going surface level. People just don't like surface level conversations to begin with, right? But because of how deep, guys were glued in and time was flying by, not from just our view, them. They were the ones who were like, man, time is flying by. Like, these are deep. One of the biggest compliments was a guy telling me, I can't believe how open and honest you and Adam were. He goes, and he's been to all sorts of men conferences, all of them Christian based. He's like, no one ever gets to see them talk about their problems. And I was just like, what are Adam and I supposed to do? Like,
right.
If we know the way, there's stumbling blocks, right? In order to succeed, you must fail. We're very open with all of our failures, all of our trips and falls, right? Whether we tripped and hit our face, tripped and stubbed our toe, no matter how big or small, we were telling them. And then the second thing was, I literally think every guy there cried except maybe one. And maybe he did and I didn't notice, but I think every guy there cried. And the reason I point that out is because of how deep these conversations were that we were having, and that realization of like, there is potential, something's missing, and they're yearning for that potential, right? And there's those hard realizations like, one, you're not alone. Two, like God has a bigger plan for you and your wife and your family, and it's very achievable.
I agree. I think to go back to one of the things that you said about surface level conversations, like we could just stay home and have surface level conversations. Like you don't have to go to a retreat in South Lake Tahoe, California to have surface level conversations. You don't have to fly to Santa Rosa Beach where I live and have surface level conversations. You can do that at home, but we don't want to do that. We're done with that. Right. And I think that by taking these guys deep in the water, it was so beneficial. The other thing too is like, so we spent a lot of time in scripture, but what was cool was we weren't just like reading scriptures. We would get into the word, and then guys would start opening up, right? And talking about, hey man, like I see what you're saying because this is my marriage. And then boom, we were off to the races, right? We had a couple guys that were like, man, my marriage is good, man. I've got a good marriage. I'm here for this. We start studying scripture, and then he's like, wait, I don't have a good marriage. Like I'm failing my wife. I'm not doing this the right way. That was, I think, one of the big takeaways for me, right? You show up to these things, and man, we want to have this exterior like, well, I've got it all together. I've got it nailed down. I'm really coming for this. But then God shows up and he's like, no. I brought you here because you needed to hear this. And what I love about you and I, dude, and I'm going to just dote on us for a second, is the whole time, like the guys were like, man, you and Jesse are just awesome. You guys are great. And you and I were like, hey, we're not that great. That's the truth. We're not that great. God has done an absolute number in our lives. And if anything, what you're hearing is the Spirit speaking through us. We're just vessels. So the whole time we were just like, point the direction back at him, because he's why this stuff happens. And he brought these guys here and he brought us together. All those things, man, were orchestrated by Christ. That's why the impact was there, man. I mean, leaving was hard, wasn't it? I mean, guys were like, man, it's like back to the real world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most of them were pumped up to take what they learned and go back to their marriages. But at the end of the day, the sentiment was, this was more than I expected.
Yep.
And it was more than I needed.
Yeah. And to your point of us giving him the glory and being the vessel, I think it was Wednesday morning. Some of the guys were giving us too much props, and I had to tell them, Tuesday night when all of you guys were sleeping, I went on a walk in the dark by myself and just prayed that I was a vessel and he uses me as a tool however he sees fit for you guys. We're like, that's what I wanted, right? Not for my glory, but for his, and for them to understand. And they would be like, yes, but you guys, it's like, no, him. We always got to remember him. So when I say him, it's not that we are special, right? We're not doing anything. Are we doing things different? Yes, but really we're just in obedience is how I like to put it.
Yeah, we said yes. That was it. And we told all the guys, one of the most profound conversations that we had was, hey, you guys are all 1 or 2 decisions away from living the exact same life that Jesse and I live, right? 1 or 2 decisions. It's not that like there's this whole, oh my God, I got to change all these aspects of my life and I've got to, I don't know. Sometimes, Jesse, it feels like when guys talk, it's like completely unattainable. I have felt that. I've listened to men share their testimony and then share where they are. And I think to myself, there's so many degrees of separation between you and I. It's unattainable. But after this week, these guys understood, wait, that's not the case. That is not true. We're so much closer than you think. It's just, we're separated by 1 or 2 decisions that we've made and stuck to that's changed our lives forever.
Yeah, and it's so sticking to them because it's that consistency over time that's going to earn back the wife's trust, right? Because a lot of the guys would have the same questions because they all really have the same marriage. And women aren't as complicated as we like to make them out to be, because they'd be like, well, when I tried this, it didn't work. And it's like, so you did it once? Yeah, didn't work. So you're not consistent. You're not even trying to continue to do that work. Well, no, because it didn't. All right. Every time you got to swing, keep swinging. You got to keep stepping up to the plate. Finally, she's going to be like, all right, he's consistent here. It allows me to feel safe to express myself. I'm going to relinquish some control because he's provided me this safe area emotionally, right? Not just he tried it once, never tried it again. Women can't rely on that. They can't. That doesn't allow them to be in that state of survival, right? Well, it doesn't allow them to be in that state of safety. They're continuously in survival if you only try it once and then just back up. Well, it's like, dude, earn it. I had to earn it, all my trust back. And I was the one who failed her in the beginning, took all that trust away because of my decisions.
A lot of peaks and valleys. They try one thing, and like we're we've been sports guys. I'm still a sports guy. Like Jordan's the GOAT, no questions asked, but he talks about often all the times he had opportunities to take the game-winning shot and he missed, but we don't even talk about those. We talk about the ones that he made, the flu game. We talk about the Jazz finals, that shot, so guys, like if Jordan would have been like, well, I tried to take a game-winning shot once, it didn't work. Like I'm going to just pass the ball now. We wouldn't talk about Jordan the way we talk about him, right? I knew that there were things that I needed to do in my life and my marriage, and I tried them and they got me no results with my wife, but I stuck to the plan. Stick to the plan. Consistency. That's one thing that guys praise when they see it, but then they can't apply it in their life, right? We've always gone back to the Nick Saban analogy, especially down here in the South. Guys love Nick Saban because he's so consistent and he coaches hard, and then you talk about consistency and you coach a guy hard and they fold up like lawn chairs. It's because it's easy to see that's what wins games. That's a winning mentality. But then you apply it to your own life, and the second it gets hard, guys are just like, no, this is so hard though. It's like, my wife still won't do this and she still won't do that. We recommended a good book, Love and Respect. Women want love, men want respect. Right. Well, how are you going to get respect? It's loving your wife like Christ loved the church. but dudes don't want to do that. And some guys thought that they were doing that. And then when we broke it down and got really like granular with them, it's like, whoa, I'm missing the mark. I'm missing the mark, which was cool to see, man. I really feel like guys left and they're changing their lives already.
Yeah. They're sending us the text messages and the DMs of like, man, I'm implementing this, because half those guys are, well, my wife, it's just the way she is, right? She's always been this strong. She's always wanted to take over in this area. And it's like, she's only always done that because there hasn't been a man who's in the masculine to allow her to relinquish that control or allow her to feel safe in that area. So you attribute a personality trait within the four walls. I'm not talking about outside the four walls. Within the four walls, with it's just how she's always been. But there's some sort of damage in her life that made her want to protect herself in that area. So you look at his personality, when you get it near me and Adam, we're going to say, actually, it's a place you're not covering her as the head of the home. And some guys, it really open their eyes of, I never realized that.
Yeah. Like that grandma that I sent you, it's like most women have been in a lesbian relationship, but not with another woman, just with a guy that acts like a bitch.
Yes.
And I mean, that was such a funny video, but that was the definition of some of the guys that were there. They're like, my wife's so strong and then when we were like, yeah, but why is do you think she wants to be strong all the time? And they're like, well, no. And it's like, do you want her to be strong? Do you want like a masculine woman in your house? Do you really want to sleep with another guy? And they're like, well, no. And go back to, that's not a surface level conversation. That is an iron sharpens iron conversation. Because if I said that to you, you could say, kick rocks, bro, and leave and never talk to me again. And then it would cost me a friendship. But man, that's the truth. And these guys had nowhere to go. There was nowhere to run. They had no car. They had no way to getting out of town. They were stuck sitting there and their heads just nodded. They looked like puppies. Like, yeah. And then because they had nowhere to go, they sat with it and they processed it and they internalized it and they started looking at themselves and going, wait, where have I caused that? Right? When we gave the analogy of we've taken as men our ruck off and we put it on the back of our women, and then we take all of our weight and we put it in there, and then they start walking all crooked with it. Then we judge them for how they're carrying our load.
Yes.
That was a big defining moment.
Yeah. And those uncomfortable conversations, they have to happen. There was a father-son duo with a son. Was he 30 or 32? I think 32. He was 32. He literally left the room because he said he had never seen another man talk to his dad the way Adam and I did. And now, we weren't being assholes. We were just being honest. Just honest, right? We use these terms as brutally honest, but there used to be a day in history where just regular honesty was just regular honesty. Now
it wasn't brutal. It wasn't like he's being brutally honest as opposed to what? Like being like mildly honest? What the hell is that?
Exactly. So we were just being honest, straightforward. And this guy hugged us, thanked us multiple times. But his son, again, never saw anyone talk to his dad. And dad has a look to him, and as a black belt in jiu-jitsu, that a lot of people aren't going to tell him the things that we did, but we were there only to just be vessels and be truthful and for the betterment of his own home and every other guy there.
And that was our job while we were there. It's to talk to you the way you need to be talked to. You don't need guys listening to this that are struggling in your marriage. You don't need somebody to come along and justify more of your behavior and just say it's okay and say things that are completely untrue. Like, well, Jesus loves you. Yes, he does. He loves you enough to nudge you maybe to come to one of these retreats so guys like you and I can have real hard conversations. And it's because we've taken the plank out of our own eye. So now we can judge accordingly. It's, hey man, you're doing as you say, and that's not what you want to do. You don't just talk about it. You got to be doing it. For the guy who brought his son, world changing for his son too, because he saw his dad go, wait, there's places in my life that I have to get better. And so for a son to hear that, it's like, man, so there's no excuse now. Your dad is saying he's got to make course corrections. So you think that you're absolved of that? No, you are not. You have to make course corrections as well. And we brought the heat on him too.
Oh yeah.
Nobody escaped it. Nobody escaped it. That was the other thing. Everybody got theirs, right? We did some really cool identity stuff. We did some really cool, like how to hear from God stuff. That moment was really big, right? Hearing guys understand like what it sounds like when God talks to you, and then what does it sound like when the enemy talks to you, right? Like we heard so many guys say, well, I should be praying more. It's like, well, who told you that? Because God doesn't tell you that. God doesn't need you to do anything for him, right? Satan is the accuser. So he's the one telling you, you really should be, if you're going to call yourself a Christian, like you probably should be praying more. Like you don't do any of that. So you're actually a loser. So we got to differentiate between the types of voices that we hear in our heads and whose they are. That was a really cool exercise. But in general, overall, like this was about as good as it could get. And I could have done another 4 days of that, right? It was just, well, and we're going to here in October. So that's what I'm really pumped about. For those of you that have like listened and watched and seen some of the aftermath of the retreat, and you're like, hey, when's the next one? How can I get involved? How can I get to, hey, how can I get my husband to this? How can I get my sons to this? Well, I think we're going to do it again. I think the last thing that you and I need to do, Jesse, is this: we need to ask God. We need to pray about it. And if God says, hey, go for it, or we hear nothing, then we know we have a lot of runway. We have a lot of green space or white space to do this. And, but I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to be really good. So if you missed an opportunity to do this retreat last time and things didn't line up and they didn't add up, we're going to give it a go again in October. We're deciding between the first week and the third week now. We'll figure that out. But yeah, don't let another opportunity miss you, though. Don't let it pass you by. Don't hear us talking about this and go, man, I really should. And don't should yourself. If you want to go, go. Because I'll tell you this, Jesse, you know what's going to be crazy? We're opening it up to more guys, right? Last was 10. This one's going to be 12. There's going to be a wait list. Out of the amount of DMs that you and I have received just since being back from Thursday, there will be a wait list. So you're going to want to get in on this sooner than later.
Yeah. And this is for everybody, but we're not for everybody. Everybody is not going to like us, and we're okay with that. But every guy who went, there was majority of those guys I was genuinely excited to meet and conversate and build camaraderie with and build rapport. Like, get my number, text me, man. Text me anytime. And they've already been reaching out. Hey, man. And it's just like, we live together, right? We're trying to build community at the end of the day. Right? Yep. We're not one and doneers. Like we want these guys to go disciple more men, maybe do the same thing in their community, right? Rub on us rub off on them. We want to build community.
Yeah. That's the whole goal. First of all, because that's the number one thing that guys say that don't have. Like, oh, I never had anybody that did that. I don't have a group of guys. Like it's in my area. Nobody walks and talks like you guys, and we don't have that. Well, great. Like that's what we're creating here. And guys that go on these retreats, they end up doing all the things with us. They sign up for our pod coaching. They sign up for our school community. They're in on all the stuff. That's how they stay connected, right? I felt like when we left, we were family. Like those dudes, it was like I had known these guys for much longer than the time that we had shared together.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
That was as a people person, as an empath, as a guy that loves deep relationships. That was one of the things I really enjoyed the most, was the feeling of camaraderie and family and community. And guys don't have enough of that. And I'm not making that up. If you look at my DMs, that's what most guys are saying. Well, I don't have that. How do you guys do that? And our goal is that you do these types of things and you stick with us long enough that you feel confident enough to go out and make your own thing. Go back into your own communities and start this kind of stuff live and in person. Nothing beats face to face, right? So go and make your own Ascent for Men. Go and do the God that we serve is the God of abundance. There are so many men that need, and like you said, man, not everybody's going to like us. We're for somebody, but we're not for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So that's totally fine. Like there are guys that will still go to like the John Maxwell conferences and those types of things. And that's what that fires them up. I just hope that when you walk away from those, that you start living the way that they talk about living. That's the whole goal here.
Yep.
We're trying to change your life, man. Jesse and I are not trying to make a bunch of money. We're trying to change your life, because if we focus on changing your life, success for us will come. Like that'll be organic and that'll happen. Right. And God needs men who are successful out in the world. Plain and simple.
Exactly. And if you want more information, just go to our website, theascentformen.com, And there is an application process. So make sure you apply, and you're going to actually get on a phone call with myself or Adam directly.
Absolutely. So you can, couple other different ways, watch my stories, watch Jesse's stories. We always have links for this. The link in my bio right now on Instagram is a clickable link that takes you right to a landing page to sign up for our pod coaching. We will post again the links for the retreat the second we get those dates pinned down. But listen, if you thought about going to the first one and you missed your opportunity, you got another one coming in October. All right. So get on both of our social medias, keep an eye out, watch our stories, and we will present that information to you guys as soon as we possibly can. But do not miss your opportunity to get in on the next retreat, because the seats for that one are going to sell out extremely fast. So that was a great recap, Jesse. I think these guys understand exactly what these retreats are all about, and hope to see you on the next one.